The last question that I'm going to ask is there sometimes are good reasons to get out of a marriage or get out of a relationship. Even the Bible supports one of these things for sure. So when it comes to like good reasons to get out of a marriage or getting out of a relationship, what do you think are some really good reasons for that?
Well, I if you feel like you're not being supportive or like supported in a relationship, like I said earlier, a relationship and marriage is like 50-50. Or if you feel like you're just basically like doing, well, I gotta pay this, I gotta pay, take care of this, gotta take care of this, and you're not getting no help at all. Um, where you feel like your trust is getting taken care, like advantage of, like you feel like your partner, husband is being secretive in what they're doing. Like they could be like, "Oh, I love you," we're in this together, but they're like secretly over here, talking to somebody else, right? And just all in all, just you feel like you're just not happy most of all in a relationship or marriage. That's just some good one, like some reasons why to get out of it.
Yeah, and that's really good things to bring up. Like when it comes to you're not feeling like you're being supported, or you don't feel like that you're a team at that point. You just almost feel like you're almost just tolerating each other, but you don't really care for each other. But you don't want to be single, so then it's like a big like chain reaction
Right,
of questions and questioning yourself, questioning the relationship. That brings a lot of confusion, that brings a lot of drama, that brings a lot of craziness. So
right,
that's definitely one big thing. And another good thing that you brought up was trust. Like I feel like trust is so easily can be easily broken. Like you
right,
can take forever to build that trust, but it only takes like a second to break that trust. So, like, yeah, trust is definitely a really important thing, which kind of leads to the biblical thing that gives you a reason to get out of a marriage, which is adultery. So,
hmm,
unless that's adultery for those, I'm sure everybody probably knows what adultery is, but for those that don't know what adultery is, it is when basically kind of what we've already talked about already, when you are married to somebody, but then you kind of have somebody else involved in your marriage and you're getting sexually involved like with this person. Not saying that you can't be friends with other female, like if I had a wife, I could still be friends with other females, just as long as there's no sexual, I don't know, tension or
right,
whatever you
right,
want to call it. So as long as, especially if you've known these people, like if you've known these friends before you met your wife, but like I said, if there are new people that come around, that might be a little suspicious.
right.
So like I said, but like that's one big thing, like I said, is adultery. And I was gonna read a verse right quick from Matthew as well. In Matthew 5:32, it says, "But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." So I know a lot of people nowadays may look at this one and think, "Oh, that's controversy. Like that's um, crazy to think of." But I mean, just because the culture has changed in this world doesn't mean that the Bible isn't true.
Right.
Because you can nowadays change culture and then claim that the Bible is a lie, or that Jesus is a liar, or God's a liar. So, like I said, just still stands true that, like, yeah, like I said, there's sexual immorality going on. Like, if my wife, um, was having sex with somebody else, besides that, that's supposed to be between, a husband and wife, and less than if there's a guy on the side, involved with this, that can cause that's a biblical reason to get divorced. And another one is I feel like is abuse is
Right.
another big reason to get out of a relationship or a marriage. If you are being abused, especially physically, as that is a huge one that unfortunately people are kind of afraid of their spouse. whether it's a man abusing a woman, unfortunately, or there are times where women do abuse their husbands too. It's not as common, or is not maybe as heard of as a man abusing his wife, unfortunately. But it happens on both sides. So like I said, abuse I feel like is another huge one that can be tied into like getting a divorce or getting out of a relationship. It's easier definitely to get out of a relationship, I feel like, because as in once you make that marriage, happen, it's you almost feel like you're,
Trapped.
especially, yeah,
You're
you almost
trapped.
feel like you're trapped,
Right.
and you feel like that commitment it needs to stay there because you stood before God and you were going to marry them and stay with them. Um, but unless you feel like there's a potential change within that person, like as far as the abuser, definitely if there's no hope for that, I say get out of that before it's too late because you don't want to be hurt to where you're either in the hospital or to where you're dead. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
it's happened with many people. There's really big like headlines out there for certain people that have been in abusive relationships. Like even in the last year, I think that YouTube, her name is Gabby something, but she was with this guy named Brian something. I forget the
Gabby
last name.
Petito?
Yeah, I think that's who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like on a road trip and like doing these kind of traveling stuff, and listen, there was unfortunately abuse involved, and we think that more than likely he was the one that was causing all this, and he was the suspect for her disappearance and her death. So listen, there's a lot of crazy people out there. So I feel like definitely, um, as far as marriage and relationships, I feel like definitely if there's adultery, if there's cheating, unless if you're in a relationship, if there's cheating involved, or if you're being abused. Those are
Right.
two big reasons
Right.
to
I
go
totally agree.
there. Yeah, so um that is probably gonna be about it. Is there you feel like you have any kind of final thoughts regarding marriage or a relationship, or maybe some advice to give to people maybe that are struggling with their relationship or marriage?
Basically, like I would say the final thoughts, if you're in a troubled relationship or troubled marriage, if you're having kids involved, you know, plan out your ways, like what you're going to do. Like, okay, I need money to go here. I need to, plan an escape route. And just look out for the safety of you and those kids. But if you feel like if you're not happy in a relationship or a marriage, just get out now. Like, get out like as soon as you can before it does get bad to where like it turns into a very narcissistic type relationship to where you're either ending up hurt or that person's ending up hurt or even one of your kids are getting hurt. But always like I'm gonna end it with this, but if you're looking forward to get into a relationship or marriage, just always put Jesus first. Because if you put Jesus first, y'all both can come together and like pray, on like a situation, argument, whatever, and y'all both can come to like a conclusion about whatever you're struggling with.
Yeah, I think that's some really good piece of advice to end this episode, because you definitely want to look to your own safety. You want to make sure that if you feel like you're in a relationship where things are looking a little scary, and if especially if you have children, and if you're married to this person, um, first see if there's any way you can talk to this person about this, address this situation before it gets worse. If you start seeing signs of potential abusive characteristics,
Right.
like definitely talk to them. And if it feels like they still aren't willing to change, you gotta leave them, because if they can't change, then they'll probably never change
Right.
unless they have that conviction of from God, to let them know that hey, like you are going down a scary path, and you definitely got to, be careful out there and, watch out because let's see, you don't want to end up, you know, with a lot of hurt and pain or even death. So yeah, definitely safety is important. Definitely pray about all these situations that you go through. Pray that if you're getting into a potential relationship, just ask God for guidance. And, if it is the one, it will work out and things will go perfectly fine. Well, not perfectly. It's not, no relationship or marriage is perfect, but things will go smoothly to where you will be a fully formed team
Right.
of three if you involve Jesus in that. So you can't go wrong with Jesus at the end of the day.
That's right.
So that's all there is to it. So, anyways, I want to thank Tasha for being here. It was
Thank you
so,
guys.
yeah, it
And
was
thank
good.
you.
Yes, you're welcome. It was good having, well, I was about to say it's good having you here, but I'm in your place. So I appreciate you letting
Of
me come
course, of
over,
course.
and I'm gonna get to catch up with her because it's been a couple years since I've seen her. So it's definitely good already getting to see her and kind of briefly catching up before we started this podcast. So I definitely look forward to having her back on some future podcast episodes. So if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up or give me a follow, whether you were watching this from YouTube at Not Your Average Joel, where you can subscribe to my page and hit the bell notification, to where you can get notified whenever I post new episodes. Or if you are listening to this, not everybody likes to watch podcast episodes, they like to listen. So I have my episodes now on a bunch of podcast listening, streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and so many more. I also have an Instagram page at Not Your Average Joel, to where I'll post some behind the scene moments, some funny moments, some impactful, outstanding moments from my episodes. So definitely, give me a follow there as well. So, anyways, I appreciate everybody for watching, and I will see y'all on the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.